Hi, beautiful friends and book lovers. I hope that you're all doing well. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather, and here at Heather's Book Review, I love to read and review primarily thrillers, but I will read just about anything. And today's video is a dedicated review and book chat for The Couple Next Door by Cherie LaPena. This is a thriller that I feel like you see everywhere. Like, you don't even have to be a thriller reader to like have seen this cover before, right? Because it is so widely popular, in my opinion. The copyright of this book is 2016, I believe. And yes, and the page count of this paperback edition is a little over 300. So I feel like when we think of thrillers, that's like a pretty quick thriller read. If you follow me on Bookstagram, this is a book that I actually got from a book resale shop in Chicago for $5 in Chicago's West Loop. So when I saw it, I was really excited because I was like, you know what? This is a thriller that, like I said, is so widely popular and just was one that I have never read, but have always been kind of wanting to read. So I definitely jumped on it, especially for the price. If you don't know what this book is about, I am going to read the very short and sweet synopsis. If you don't want to hear that, just skip a little bit ahead. You will know when I'm done reading because I will be looking up and not down. But it says, Anne and Marco Conti seem to have it all. A loving relationship, a wonderful home, and their beautiful baby, Cora. But one night, when they are at a dinner party next door, a terrible crime is committed. Suspicion immediately falls on the parents, but the truth is much more complicated. What follows is the nerve-wracking unraveling of a family. Detective Rasbach knows that the panicked couple is hiding something inside the curtained home. Anne and Marco both soon discover that the other is keeping secrets that they've kept for years. The shocking truth will leave you breathless. Hold on, I'm just going to scroll up here on my notes really quick. So that sounds intriguing, in my opinion. As a newer mom myself, and even before I was a mom, I feel like I kind of always strayed away from like kidnapping books just because those like never really sit right with me. So I did read this after I had my son, but it was not as difficult to read. I will say All of the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham was much more difficult to read, and that has like a similar concept too. I know a lot of people have been telling me to read The Push, but I've heard like very, very similar things, especially for like brand new moms. So I don't know, but I've heard with The Push, like it's amazing. So I don't know. I feel like I've never really like read a whole ton of like in-depth reviews about that one because I've kind of always pushed it off to the side. But if you feel like I should read it, let me know. I feel like I've had 2 or 3 people randomly in the last week like tell me like, no, you actually like need to read it. So I may choose it as a book of the month add-on if you guys feel like it's worth the read. But so I just kind of wanted to talk about non-spoiler things about this book and then just give you guys my overall rating. I will say I was very, very, very invested like in the beginning of this book. But this is one of those books where you kind of find out like a pretty big twist in the middle of the book. And then those kind of books, unfortunately, like make me lose steam while reading. I think a lot of like a thriller or a lot of what I love about thrillers is like kind of waiting until the end to see how everything ties together. But when it's a thriller, when you're given like such a big piece of like information, it kind of like just kind of, for me, this is just a personal thing, but like it doesn't make it like as fun of a read anymore. Something similar just happened to me when I read The Housemaid, which I will link and review up here for you. That was my most requested thriller to read in 2022 based off of my YouTube comments. And that had a similar kind of like structure to the book where like it starts off, excuse me? It starts off with a bang, and then you like find out something pretty big in like the middle of it, and then I kind of just like lost steam. So I will say that happens with this book. And on my rating scale, I will give it an enjoyable read. I was kind of thinking of like decent but flawed, but I don't know. That just felt like a little too harsh because I feel like I did really enjoy it. And I actually read this quite some time ago, but I did take detailed notes on it, hence why I'm filming this review. And as I was reading through the notes, I was like, wow, like I was really invested. Like I was taking detailed notes, and like I do that when I'm like really vibing with a book. So yeah, that is really kind of my thoughts just on this book. Would I recommend like going out and grabbing it right now? No. But if you're in a situation like mine where maybe you're at a resale shop or like just something and you see it for this price and you're like, you know what? I want to read a very popular thriller, then I would suggest it. But like I wouldn't run out and grab it if you haven't read it already. I feel like I may have listened to another book by this author before on audio, but I cannot remember. But the other physical book I have of Sharila Penna's is Not a Happy Family, which I highly, highly, highly recommend over this book. So if you're choosing between or like you want to give one of her books a go, I would recommend this one. I do have a full dedicated review to it that I will link up here for you. But this is like, while it's even a more of like a lengthy book than The Couple Next Door, I thought it was just more engaging and I actually appreciated the ending. So now I'm going to go ahead and get into the book chat part of the video for those of us who have read. So if you're new here, I would love if you could hit that subscribe button and that post notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new bookish related video. But we are going to get chatting with spoilers. So I told you guys I read this book a long time ago. And I'm reading through my notes and I said, okay, super intrigued so far. It was a little unsettling to read about the baby abduction. I have a 14-month-old and my son is 19 months now. So this was 5 months ago I read this. Thank goodness I took notes. Hold on, I'm just moving them over. And apparently I had a terrible dream the night before I started this book. So that is very like me. I would have a terrible dream and then pick up a book about a kidnapping the day after. Like that's just, I don't think those things through. So my initial predictions were I thought maybe Marco didn't want to be with Anne anymore and he was trying to get some money out of his parents. And then I wrote like maybe the baby is safe with someone else. I wrote that I thought his little rendezvous with Cynthia could have been a distraction if they were caught. So the person driving the car could get away with ease. Those were like my initial thoughts, like as I was reading this and we were learning that he was like messing around with the neighbor. Then another prediction I had was like, do they even have a baby? Like what if something just like really, really sad initially happened and like these are parents who are like in denial? I don't know. I think at the time, one of my friends was telling me that she was watching like a similar show like that on Apple TV, if I can remember correctly. I don't know. She was telling me some like messed up stuff. Maybe that's why I ended up having the nightmare. Probably. Then I was like, is this another thriller that is going down the split personality route? Because apparently her mom said something like, I wonder if, I think this means Anne's mom, I wonder if it was right for us to have kept stuff from your father when you were younger. So then I was like, split personality maybe? And like the mom knows about it. If you're new here, I don't love like a detective cop point of view in my thrillers, but apparently when I was reading this one, I felt like the cop detective point of view like wasn't overbearing and was actually done like in a minimal amount. And apparently I really appreciated that. So that's actually really big for me because I do not like main character, detective, main character, detective. Like I don't know why. It's just like, I feel like I always find the detective point of view so boring. So like when I get to those parts in the books or audiobooks, I'm like, can't we just get back to like the main character POV? So then I was thinking, is this going to be a thriller that like maybe goes the route of DIDS because she like beat up that girl in high school? DIDS meaning dissociative identity disorder, something like that. I think I might, if I'm wrong, I'll put the correction here. But she was beating up that girl in high school who bullied her, but then like she didn't remember. So maybe she kind of goes into this like fugue state when she's like in a uncomfortable or like overwhelming situation and then just like doesn't remember things. So then I started speculating that Marco definitely had something to do with this, and we eventually find out he kidnaps his own daughter to get the ransom money. So I was right on that account that he had something to do with it, but not right that like because it was his business, for his business, I remember reading this thinking like he just didn't want to be like in that marriage anymore and he was trying to do some like fucked up stuff to get out of it. But then I also wrote like regardless, he did all of this for money and like just a terrible person to do that to his own baby and with someone that he barely even knew and was going under a false identity. I mean, like actually what an idiot. So I hated Marco, but then I actually also ended up hating Anne because she admits to slapping Cora multiple times. And I was like, you are both honestly just terrible characters. This is a pretty extensive note here, so I'm going to be looking down as I read it. But I wrote, I knew the father-in-law was going to be involved somehow, but at this point, I'm predicting that he's actually behind everything in the extent that like he did kill that Bruce guy, and that's why he's like, don't talk to Alice. She doesn't want to talk to you right now, because he's still orchestrating this. Okay, I do remember the wheels turning there based off of like the dialogue that was happening. And then I was just super excited that my theory I originally had for Marco wanting to take the money and leave because he was in an unhappy marriage was actually the dad. And while I predicted the dad was behind this, I thought it was just a show and that her husband was like a bad husband. But in reality, he was doing this to try to get to Anne. To have Anne not trust Marco to also get the like 7 million so then he could leave his current marriage. So I had the right theory about the man wanting to leave the marriage, but it was just the wrong man that I had that theory for. Isn't that funny? Like the theory was right, my prediction was right, but it was for the wrong guy. Okay, my last thought. This is like what kind of ruined the book for me, okay, was this ending piece. So I wrote, so Anne kills Cynthia when she says those terrible things about how Richard should have just killed the baby when Anne was confronting her about the affair. And then Anne went into her disassociative state and kills her in the ending scene of the house. Remember, it's like covered in blood, and then she's saying like, I don't remember. It's like, okay, so this is where I was frustrated. She just went through all this trauma, all this pain, just to get her baby back. And now she has her baby back, but she's most likely going to jail because she killed her neighbor. I'm like, but you just went through all this work to get the baby back. I remember thinking like, wow, what a bad overall risk. So anyways, that was kind of fun actually to read back those thoughts from 5 months ago, apparently. So yeah, that is my book chat part of the book, or part of the video for The Couple Next Door. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about the book. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, you guys.